Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mosen with MTA, I think it's 18, for the 24th of September 2018. And the topics, hold on, I forgot. Free-to-play Classic, should it be free-to-play? Exalted reputation with PvP factions pre-60, aka Twink Battlegrounds. And Ret-Fan. Right, let's start with the first one. By the way, at the moment we are first thank you for the feedback in the video and for the views it's getting and the subs and the new subs. Thank you very much for subbing to the channel. I appreciate that you guys enjoy the content. Let's start with classic free to play. Now we'll probably not have the classic service be absolutely free to play, but we don't know that yet. So let's see, or let's compare one or two concepts of playing games while we still can, because at the moment basically the private servers are a free to play version of classic, and you know, retail is always a thing where you would pay. Now, would it be good if the classic realms would be free to play? Some people would obviously argue yes, of course. If I don't have to pay for something, that's better, right? And I think, you know, after playing 3-4 private servers and League of Legends for quite a while, I would strongly disagree. I would really say that you know, having something be free to play is not necessarily a good thing, and here's why. What we could observe in the last guilds that we had on every server that we had was that a free to play model has always been somewhat of a I don't give a shit, I can go fucking ape shit on my behavior and what I do with my character. What I mean with that is basically we you know, we expect people to show up and we are having a really good time, and then all of a sudden you know, they were drunk and they would fucking shard their gear and disappear into nothingness forever. And you know, that was one of the things that really, one of the tipping points for me, where I said, okay, maybe this whole free-to-play stuff is not really the way it should be. Although I obviously like playing for free, you know, the way that people act and behave is seriously something that needs to be looked into. You can see the same thing in League of Legends, where people just flame each other to death, and it's and I'm not even talking about you know, the usual chit chat, you know, you suck, no you suck, but it's really toxic. And yeah, this is just my second account that is free anyway. Now here comes the one thing into play. If you're paying for something, right, you have a certain investment that you're paying every month into your character, and thus if that character or that account gets a penalty, or you know, a timeout for a couple of weeks or days, or a or another timeout, which then results ultimately in a you know, temporary or a permanent ban, makes you think about what you're doing with your time and your actions and your behavior in the game. Now, should Classic be free to play? I would strongly disagree, because there should be some obligation that you have to, you know, pay a certain amount, just a little something. Maybe it's not like the full price, but I think it's going to be the whole subscription, but I don't know that. So maybe I just hope that it's going to be something. So first of all, you'll try to keep out the tourists that are just going to play until 40, right? Which can be a good thing, don't get me wrong. Like, every player playing something is a good thing, and keeping people out is generally the worst idea. But you know, it just makes it so that people are actually invested in the thing that we're trying to do here, which is, you know, play a retail classic on retail. And I think that with this, people will think about much more how they act, or if they're, you know, spamming Niger and Yell in the middle of Ironforge, or if they continuously harass somebody, you know, somewhere. And we've had that quite a lot, where people actually got, you know, made whispered even things, stupid things to the friend who was playing a red paladin. They just couldn't fathom him playing a red, right? And so they would just whisper him all that stuff. They'd come to his house, and you know, it's really this toxic behavior of people trying, you know, when someone plays red, they want to go to his house and stab him in the face. And I think those people should be avoided at all costs, and the community should be kept clean as possible, and those people should be playing League of Legends, because that's where they belong, right? In the Bronze League of League of Legends. If you're playing something that I don't like, then I'm gonna hate your mother and your whole family. So I think, you know, making something free to play is really, you know, it's good to acquire a lot of people playing it, but the usual way that it's going down is that the community really gets toxic as hell, and you can already see this here in the classic rooms as well. And not everybody is that way, but the thing about toxicness is always you can avoid them as much as you can. I recommend super ignore the add-on for everybody. You see a guy that's a complete knobbit, and you just put him on that ignore list, and you can ignore more than the usual people on your ignore list, and you'll have a better time enjoying the game. Just delete him from the from your gaming experience, as to speak. And well, you know, that's that. So we're playing here against apparently it's a pre-made? I don't know. Apparently there's a level 39 pre-made. So whatever that does for people, but they're completely twinked out with, you know, what's it called? Engineering and all sorts of gear, and people here are just not coming to me. They're like here. I thought about making a video about basic Battleground tactics, because it's just driving everyone mad in Battlegrounds. I saw that. And it really is. I mean, you know, I came down here on the ramp and people are fighting here. And at some point you gotta ask yourself if they even have a map. But anyway, that is to the free-to-play topic. I think, you know, anything free-to-play is something that I personally will usually stay away from, because I might actually try it out, but in most cases, more so than not, it's a very bad thing to play, because you know, there's no boundaries, there's no obligation to behave, right? Because you can just get the next account because it's free to play. Okay, on to the next topic. Let's talk about getting exalted reputation with PvP factions. Now this is a quite long one. It's from Reddit, and it's from Reynolds Cahoon. And he basically says that his favorite adventure back in vanilla was when he and like his friends, or when he started, he was playing on some sort of dead server. I just get this, man. This is like a pre-made. Get this, like on Discord and 39 Battlegrounds. We'll talk about that now. He says his favorite experience was playing on retail with a, you know, on a fairly dead server on exactly this bracket, or I think it was 29 bracket, and he said it was quite fun for him to just, you know, trying to get exalted with the factions before he actually hit 60, right? And that was what he was trying to do, and he would go on to just grind the hell out of those battlegrounds before he hit 60. Why? I don't know, because he just thought it was fun, and he picked up a lot of people along the way that played the same battlegrounds as him, and so they eventually formed a guild, and you know, then they started farming that reputation together, and they did some dungeons without hitting you know, the next level, so they could stay in that bracket. Eventually, you know, he goes on to say, you can read the thing here, I'm gonna put it into the video, and yeah, so they got together to play together, and now, you know, here's the critique that people have with this, and I think it's kind of valid, to be honest, because right now what we're doing here is, if you look at the enemy team, right, these people are just online 24/7. I don't know what that is, TNT, I think it's Chinese, I don't know though. These guys have they're like 39, and they have full engineering, full gear, completely enchanted, and just look at the score, right? So that you could argue they're not the best, but I'm gonna leave that up to you. So why are people doing this, right? Why would you PvP in the battleground? Now I gotta admit, if you have a couple of people you can play with, this is actually quite enjoyable, right? Playing something along the way while you're leveling, having some PvP fun and getting some rewards. Just the thing is, in theory, this always sounds good, right? This always sounds good in theory, and if you have people that you can do this with, I would completely agree. It's probably fun, but you know, I just don't. The design, and this is something that somebody says in the first comment. Wish Dr. Song, he says, calls out a major weakness in the WoW PvP system. You know, basically saying that this is a good idea, but the rep grind and the rewards are so gated and so locked, right? That getting there, because if you look at the rewards, there's always rewards for certain level ranges, right? If you would be revered with Warzone Gold at this level, then you could get cool rewards. The thing is though, you're not going to be revered usually, unless you completely grind out this battleground and completely leave out the leveling process. And that is just not going to happen, because why would you do this? I mean, if you're honest, why would you sit on 39 for weeks if you're gaining way more on the max level grind, right? So that's kind of the weakest that people are calling out, and maybe there's something to be done about that. Maybe not, right? I mean, we don't want to change too much. We all agree on that. But it's certainly a weak point that could be fun if you could get cool leveling items. If you would spend, you know, at least like a week or two, and you would level a little bit, and you get some PvP rewards. I can always see that, but the thing is, you have to grind it out so hard. Then again, it creates twin communities where people get together to play on a certain bracket. Why? I mean, and the thing is, I wouldn't mind this, but in reality, this is usually not about. I mean, get these people, right? They have completely maxed out engineering, and now you could say, well, if these people just enjoy playing that way, right? If they just enjoy playing that way, why not let them do it? And of course, right? I get it. But the thing usually is, more often than not, that this is not about you know, enjoying PvP so much on this level. It's more about the face stomping levelers that come into the battleground, right? No one in their right mind, unless you're really into twinking and all that stuff. As I said, there are people like this. It doesn't really make sense, but usually people in that level range just level and hop into battleground, you know, PvP a little bit for fun, and they wouldn't. And for those people, usually it's more about a stomp. And I'll get into this in a later video as well, where I'm talking about the you know, like Smurf attitude in some games, and that also relates a little bit to the PvP system on level 60, where there's massive issues with it, with the premates stuff, and I love playing premates, but there's a lot of stuff or a lot of possibilities to avoid that. So in short, there's a twin community. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, I know there's a lot of people that like to do this. Oh my god, there's this, and you know, get this pet. Just get this, the damage of this pet. Can you imagine this, right? Like, what are you supposed to do against this? Yeah. Oh, whatever. This is the PvP. I'm just gonna go and die real quick. Set. And yeah, that's a twin community for you. And yeah, it's a double-edged sword for me. I get that it's fun for some people, but usually it's just about stomping anybody that just has regular leveling gear, right? And that to me is it's usually something that, you know, people would do that are 60, not very good at PvP. Go to Stranglethorn, gank level 30s, because that's the only real thing they can do PvP wise, right? And I know there's a lot of people that disagree, but usually that's the case. It's usually the people that I need a massive advantage to be competitive on the same level as others. But whatever. No, we're not here to flame anybody, right? And I just wanted to point this out, that there's actually people that, you know, they wanna. Oh my goodness, are you for real, dude? There's actually people that love playing these battlegrounds in those brackets and love playing, you know, this guy's just a pain in the ass. Okay, congratulations. Now, playing that bracket and love grinding to Exalted. I mean, get that. Exalted on level 39, right? That is something. That really is something. I mean, pretty solid one. I couldn't, I mean, just playing to Exalted on 60 is a terrible grind, to be honest. If you're ranking a lot, then I get it, but yeah. I'm gonna tell everyone, clear midfield. Very hard tactic to understand, I get it, but usually that's what it is. Okay, and the last topic. Oh, by the way, so if you want to get into this, maybe you can use Reddit. There's a lot of people that want to do this. I just wanted to give this guy a shout out as well, because I like playing, you know, I like promoting different playstyles, and I think this is a really interesting one, to be honest. And I don't know. So that is Reynolds Cahoon on Reddit Classic WoW, and maybe you can find him, leave a comment. And he was asking if there are people that want to do this. So shout out to him, right? And maybe I can link this post and you can get in touch with him to do your thing in the low-level battlegrounds and actually counter this dull pre-made that can't even, I mean, they're twinked out and we're just randoms, and just look at this score. Oh my days. Okay. Ret-Fan. What is this? What is the Ret-Fan? Now, as you might know, I was also playing a Red Paladin, believe it or not, yes. And I've been playing it for 4, 5, 6 years when no one played it. Together with a couple of others that have been starting it pretty early. Nowadays you see way more Reds, as well as Feral Druids, right? And back in my day, right, on the first private realms, no one would play that. Like, if you would play Red, people, you know, just like today, some people would say it's not viable. And, you know, don't get me wrong, they're not wrong. Right, they're not, absolutely not wrong. Oh my god, just get these people. Can you believe? Now the thing that I just want to get into real quick is because I made a red guide, and in no means, I just want to say, in no means, now I understand. After having people in the raid playing red that weren't myself, I could much more understand people that get pissed off at these people. And now look, I made a red guide. And I made it because you can actually play this, and it's a lot of fun to do this. But you need to be really, really on the min-maxing side of things, right? And you really need to be interested in trying to make things work that are a little bit off the usual meta, right? And what I found a lot is that there's people. Now I would advocate playing red to a certain point where, if you have what it takes to play it, now you need a really deep understanding of how min-maxing the math of the game works, so that you don't use like wrong abilities or wrong time, because you're already you know, that low in damage, and you really need to squeeze out every last drop. So that means you need to know a lot and test a lot, and you need to you know, gear absolutely correctly. You need to min-max your stats. You can't have like 1 or 2 or 5% of, you know, one thing of crit, too much crit or too much attack power, and you need to know how the coefficients work, all that stuff. Then you can play red. At least you need to know what you need to do. But you can't play red because you like being a human warrior of the light, and then, right, expect to swing your sword. And because I made that red guide, a lot of people think that I, you know, want to have 5 reds in raid. Absolutely not, because that just doesn't work. And you need to be a certain player to play that. Now, what I will say though is I'll make for example, my red guide that I made was about playing the Seal of Command spec. Now, this is how to make red work in a viable sense, PvP wise, for example, right? PvP wise and raid wise, before like AQ40 is out and all that stuff. And there's a lot of other ways to play this. Now, if you want to be useful to the raid, you gotta play a different spec, right? Or not a different spec, but you gotta use a different ability in that raid. And you gotta use a Nightfall. And just that topic of the Nightfall, right? It's the axe that increases the spell damage taken on the boss target by 15% for the whole raid. So go figure how much difference that makes. But most red paladins say, I wanna use my fat sword, right? And I have a weapon collection, right? And, you know, if you can't face the fact that you need to be a valuable player to the raid, if your damage is not that great, then you can't play a red paladin, or at least not expect to raid. Let's put it that way. You can play whatever the hell you want. Anyway, so you just all I can say is you can't really expect to raid in a competitive, somewhat competitive environment if you don't want to use stuff that's required to be useful to your raid. Now, that being said, I know there's a lot of red paladins that go, and I know these people. I've known these people for every private server that I've played on, and you know, there are I've known some red paladins that have been going around the forums for years, and I mean literally years. Every new forum that comes, every new server that comes out, right, for years, and they advocate that red is absolutely viable and every spec and everyone should play it and no one should say anything against it, and you need to have this and that, and it's not, sometimes it's not even right or correct, whatever they say. And I can really get why people are getting so frustrated about it, and frustrated about people playing red if you have these people that are constantly trying to push in your face, hey, this is viable, right? And they're not doing it in a way that, hey, you can play it, but it's usually not that great and you need to be a good player, blah. And I would not recommend it to new players, etc, etc. They're doing it in a way, everyone should be playing red. Every raid should have 10 red paladins, absolutely viable. And no, it's not absolutely viable. That's just not true. These guys know who's carrying this game, I guess. Having 7,000 hunters on me all the time when I spawn. Kill me again. So I just wanted to get it out there that Ret-Fan is not Ret-Fan. I'm gonna be making the Red Guide Part 2, where I explain the useful spec or useful way to play the red for the raid, where you go for a Seal of Righteousness, which has a insanely high Nightfall uptime, and that combined with the use of a Nightfall and a stacking of spell damage. Anyway, there's this useful spec, Seal of Righteousness. I'm gonna make part 2 of it, and I had to edit this MTA a little bit. So anyway, red is not equal red, and I get there's a lot of people that also play like Moonkins, probably Ferals, and red paladins that just want to rub it into the face of everybody. How awesome it is, really, and like it can work. There's certain ways of playing it where it actually is useful. But there's also certain ways that aren't. A lot of people just don't want to play the useful way, right? And they don't want to be the Nightfall support, which is awesome for the raid, and all the casters are gonna love you. But no, I don't want to play it. I want to play yeah, I want to play this. I want to have an Ashkandi, right? That's the important thing for me. I want to have an Ashkandi. That being said, I really thank you for the feedback, and I would really love to hear what you think about free-to-play retail classic, because that's probably a thing that I think a lot of people would like the free-to-play. Just I don't think they're really into the consequences that might have into their gaming experience. Well, it's nice to have a free-to-play League of Legends. Playing that game just gives you the cancer, and it's just, my god, can you believe how people act in that game? And do you really want that in your classic experience, which is already so, you know, a special community, let's put it that way. Special as in not special snowflake. Let me think what you think about twinking, and what you think about playing red with a Nightfall, right? That you're actually useful for your raid and not be the guy that loot goblins every two-hander he sees in the loot table. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.